Give me the intro, man. Start. Forget about your intro. Just fuck the intros. Fuck everything.
Surviving the digital jungle is tough. We're here to guide you through it on the Digital Jungle Podcast.
Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'd like to say thank you to all our viewers. We've had a lot of feedback and a lot of people and audience asking us to do certain topics, different topics to talk about. Today is one episode of many that we're going to be doing, which is going to be life and journey of a business owner. It's been a reoccurring theme. A lot of people wanting to know the journey of a business owner and sort of understand their life path, their struggles, their successes, and it's an absolute pleasure to have my first guest on, being Michael Alayan from SPS Plumbing. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to talk about your life, man. Thank you for coming.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to get really deep into your life. Okay, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions.
Let's get deep.
Really, to be honest with you, I feel as though like I've known you now for, a really long time. I think even
15 years maybe?
Yeah, around 15 years. So throughout that 15 years, I know a lot about your life and your journey throughout business. But I wanted to even go a little bit further, a little bit before that, to kick the discussion off. Sure. I wanted to go all the way to schooling. So, man, while you were at school, and I know, like, you know, a lot of people at school, they sort of didn't know where to go, what to do. What was your sort of mindset with schooling? Were you engaged? Were you that student that really didn't give a shit about schooling, or did you think about your future? What was your mindset when you were at school?
It's a good question. I was at Stratford South. That's where I grew up in Belfield my whole life. I went to Stratford South for the majority of it. I actually went to Belmore Boys for a year and a bit. That was very interesting for that year and a little bit. And I went back to Stratfield because things just sort of got really out of control at that school, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, really. It was chalk and cheese, really. And I look back at it now and I was at that school for probably about a year and 4 months, and it really, when I got there after leaving, Stratfield was a pretty good school, pretty good education, and then I went there and it was really chalk and cheese, really. There wasn't a lot of emphasis at that time. There was a lot of kids at the school that
troubled?
Yeah, there was. It was full of, I guess, a lot of trouble, to be honest with you. But you know what I did take out of that year and a little bit that I was at that school? It really made me street smart.
Oh, okay.
100%. And I look back at it and I had to grow really thick skin very quick.
When you say thick skin, like, what do you mean? Like, was it because of the roughness?
I think there was a lot of roughness. You had to stand up for yourself a lot more. You couldn't let people walk over you. And not only that, I feel like in that year, I learned a lot about how to read people and deal with certain situations very differently to how I was at a school like Stratford South, looking back at it now, because there was heaps of different, religions, races. There was a lot of people who thought they had life figured out at such a young age at that school. And it was very rough at times, really. It really was. And so I look back at it and I think that year and a little bit that I was there, I learned so much of it. And I done things and I got things out of my system, I guess, at a very young age that I'm happy I done. Because I look back at it now and I just think that it was a very interesting time. Really, it was.
Do you feel like you got swept up in it and someone had to sort of the drama that when you went to Belmore Boys, the drama and the trouble or whatever it might be, did you get swept up by it?
I got sort of a bit overwhelmed by it, to be honest, because it was sort of taken away from my education. You go back to school and you ask, were you engaged? I was always a very smart kid.
Yep.
But I was always the one that was
distracted
jokes, and I was the one distracting people. I have a very, very short attention span. So if I'm not interested in something, that I don't necessarily find appealing to me,
Yep.
I'm easily distracted.
Yep.
So I knew off the bat, right from the get-go, as soon as I sort of went back to Stratford South in years 11 and 12, I knew that I wasn't going to get an ATAR. I wasn't going for I wasn't looking at getting a UAI. There were certain subjects that I dropped, like maths, for example, and I've done sport because I love sport. I love the subjects that I really sort of
Got engagement.
got engaged with. And even though I'm really good at maths, for example, right? I knew that I wasn't heading down that road. So there were certain things that I done, and I look back at it and I think, why did you choose that? Why did you do that? And it was, if there was one thing that I sort of took away from it, is if I'm not engaged in something, if I don't like something, I'm not going to do it. And I knew that I wasn't going to go to university. I always knew that I wanted to do a trade. I wanted to do something. And I always had this, and I swear, I still remember this conversation I had with myself. It was either going to be an electrician, but I didn't like the fact that I was going to get zapped and electrocuted.
Okay, yeah.
Plumbing, which is the one that I'd done, or I was going to do something about carpentry, but carpentry or building. It was either, I was leaning more towards plumbing and carpentry. And at the time, I thought to myself, if I was to ever open up my own business, would I have found it easier to open up a plumbing business or a building company? For whatever reason at that time, I thought a plumbing business was just going to be better.
Wow.
And I just went down that road.
So let me ask you. So, while you're trying to make this decision, right? Was anyone there to guide you or tell you? Because look, I'm from an Arab household.
Yeah.
While I was at school, the expectation was always going to be, you got to be a lawyer, an accountant. It's usually in those professional sort of areas.
Yeah.
And that's about it, or an engineer.
I had a very difficult. I had amazing parents growing up. My dad actually died when I was 17.
God rest his soul.
Yeah. So
wow, at 17.
At 17, and I actually, it wasn't until I got a lot older that I've got a younger brother. I've got 3 sisters, one who's permanently disabled.
Okay.
And I look back at it, and we had a lot of love in our household. We had that. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so I've worked since I was 14 and 9 months.
Yeah.
The Hungry Jack's, Macca's, and
okay.
Where else? And KFC.
Wow.
Right? So this was all at school. So I've always been a hustler. I've always had to do things on my own.
Did you want to work?
I had to work.
When you say you had to, was it because, okay, like I'll give you an example. You're going to school, you want to buy something, you want that extra item.
Yeah.
Was it that drive?
Independence.
You wanted that independence.
I want to go out and buy. Like I said, we grew up in a beautiful household. I've got the best, the people who know my mum, I've actually got the most amazing mother. She's caring, loving. She has to deal with my sister, who's now 42 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? She can't talk, walk, in nappies at 42. And not only that, like I said to you, I lost my dad when I was 17. My dad was sick up until that, probably 5 or 6. So I look back at it, I never really had a father figure in my life, or someone to guide me, or an older brother or something. And I feel like it wasn't until I got older that I sort of started appreciating what I had done for myself and my family. And now that I can look back and say, you know what, I've built something, I've done something with my life. I didn't have anyone helping me. I didn't have this, but I never done it intentionally. It wasn't so much like I was trying to get back at anyone, or I was trying to prove
So there was no resentment type of thing?
Not at all. Because as I went along with life, and I started my apprenticeship, and you still don't know what you're doing. I always knew that I wanted to get my qualifications, to get my license, but past that point, I really didn't have a plan. Probably up until maybe a year before I got my license. So with plumbing, you go to TAFE for 4 years, and then you go to TAFE for 3 years. You get your Cert 3, then you get a TAFE at night after work for 2 years, and you get your Cert 4.
Wow!
So it's a 5-year course at TAFE, and it's 6 years on the job before you get your plumbing license, right?
Wow!
It wasn't until probably the last year that I just knew that I wanted to start working for myself, right? So
that's pretty early on.
Yeah, I was 22 or 23 at the time.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah, yeah. And
Most people are just thinking about having fun.
but I did have the fun. That's the thing. So from about 18 to 19, I was out, I was clubbing, I was partying. I done what I needed to do, but I knew that wasn't something that you could sustain long term. It wasn't for me. I'd done it. I wanted more out of life than, going out every weekend and blowing my money on the weekend, coming home and having nothing to sort of put my name to sort of as I went through life. So I look back at it, like I said, and I just feel like things just fell into place, and I didn't wait for it to happen. I went out and got it. Just went out and life happened, and I just continued to go along and evolve as I went along.
But okay, what's your mindset like? So you finish school, you know that you want to be a plumber, so you're gonna go to TAFE, you're gonna do the course. Like, what was the driver that kept you going to TAFE and follow through with it? Like, without any guidance, like, what made you wake up every morning, go do your course, then go find a job? Like, what kept you on that train track?
I'm always, like I said to you before, if I felt like I enjoy something, I'll give it. And if I was interested in something, I would do it 100%. I'll give you my all, 100%, right?
Yep.
So you'll find that I don't think I ever failed a subject. I didn't miss class. I didn't, skip class for the sake of it. I didn't call in sick and chuck sickies when I needed to. I was always committed at work.
Is that like a self-pride? Is that like a because everyone has that option to push themselves to commit to something. It needs a drive. Like, it needs, like, especially when you're younger, it needs someone always sort of tapping you into the right direction.
Yeah.
Like, what is it, that thing that just said to yourself, like, that made you every day wake up, every day, like not chuck the sickies, is it like, did you have a vision? Did you already know what you wanted? Like,
I think that I was
did you have a good imagination when you were younger? Like, when you were at school, did you used to sit down with your mates or brag with your mates that this is what I'm going to be? I'm going to have my own company, or none of that?
Nah, not at all.
Did you see it?
No, but I knew that I wanted to
be hands-on.
Yeah, hands-on, and I wanted to do something with my hands. That's something that I enjoyed, right? I couldn't see myself behind a desk. Office, like, now, it's funny you ask this question, right? So up until 4 or 5 years ago, when I was still on the tools, right? And actually, when I was out there on the field and we weren't as big as we are today, that initial first 6 months of transitioning back into the office, I found so difficult. So difficult.
Okay, wow.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Because I didn't like it at the start. I didn't enjoy it. I would like to go out there, see customers, meet customers. I love the fact that I can provide someone with a service, do a great job, and look back and say, you know what, far out. I've done an amazing job here. I've resolved this person's problem, and the majority of the time I've done a well enough job that next time you need something, you're going to come back to me.
You're remembering. Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So that's something that I've always instilled good values into myself. I won't do something half-assed. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to give you everything.
Wow. Okay.
And that's something that I had to learn that early on. And like I said, I didn't have that guidance. And now that I've got 3 boys, I've got 3 boys under the age of 6.
God bless them.
Yeah. And now I look back at it and now I can't wait. I used to, not so much I can't wait. It's right now at this age that I start to feed my boys the right attitude, the right things from such a very early age, because I want them to be themselves, and I want them to be their own men when they grow up and have, the best of lives. But I feel like I've got a very large responsibility on my shoulders right now to make sure that I'm a great role model for my kids.
Absolutely.
And it's so cliche, right? It's something that sort of gets thrown around a lot, and you want to be a role model for your kids and da-da-da-da-da-da. I feel like you really need to pay a lot more attention to what you do. I feel like you really need to lead from the front. And I used to have this mindset of, maybe when they're a bit older, but you really need to sort of take it every day as it comes off. I find even at such a young age, if I say something to my 6-year-old now, I might repeat something in front of him 2 weeks later, he'll remind me of it. So I just feel like...
Do you think your business life, your journey in business and the way that you had to become a leader in business, do you think that helped you, understand the importance of leadership in the home?
100%. They work hand in hand. 100%.
Did you go through and see, geez, the second that you started taking leadership a lot more seriously in your business, you started to join dots that leadership is an overarching sort of skill set that you use in all your life, in all areas.
And it's something that, to be fair, I actually love the leadership aspect of business now, but it's something that I had to sort of learn. And you know what? There was issues and there was 100% mistakes. I look back at some of the hires that I've made and the things that I could have addressed so much quicker in business early on, that I look back at now, that if something was to happen now and that the same thing was to happen 5 years ago, that person would be gone in an instant. But we don't have that now. How we hire, how we fire, the rules that we have in place, the leadership, and that all comes, I guess. I think that has to come with experience.
Definitely.
I think you can talk about it as much as you want until you've been in it, and as a business owner or in a management or a leadership position, that you can go to all the courses you want, you can listen to all the podcasts you want, you can get some valuable information about how to handle certain things, but until you're put in that situation is when you learn.
Absolutely, I agree. Let's go back a little bit again. So you finish school, you get into TAFE, and then you're looking for a job, right? Now, how did you go?
TAFE? No. So I always had. So during my apprenticeship, I was always employed.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So during your apprenticeship, you're still working. You got to TAFE 1 day a week.
Okay, so you finish school. So tell me the order. So you finish school.
Finish school.
Yep.
Find a job.
Yep.
In my first year of plumbing, all I was doing literally was working on large residential unit blocks, and this is all I was doing. I was carrying oxy.
Can I stop you there? How did you get the job?
Through a mate of mine.
Referred? Did you have to have an interview?
Referred. No, there was no interview.
It was, let's get started.
Yeah.
I need you. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, we needed boys on this job site.
Okay, cool.
Cracking.
And thrown in the deep end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it more labor intensive?
More labor, 100%.
Not so much plumbing.
Nah.
Yeah? Okay. So tell me about, so you're working and you're going to TAFE.
Yeah, 1 day a week.
So you're going to TAFE 1 day a week.
Yeah.
And you stay with this employer for how long?
1 year.
Okay. And then why did you leave?
Because I was learning absolutely nothing, and all I was doing was literally carrying oxy and acetylene bottles up 7 flights of stairs.
Yep.
Clipping up stacks, that's drainage.
Yep.
Drilling holes and chasing. That's all I was doing for a whole year.
Did you learn anything?
Oh, look, you learn things as you go along, and to be honest, in that first year, I didn't really learn much. Really, it wasn't until I'm actually pretty lucky when I decided to leave. I finished I started my second year and I finished my license with the same employer.
Okay.
Yeah, great guy, really, really, really great plumber. Very, very old school type plumber. His dad taught him. His dad was a drainer.
Yeah. Okay. But let me ask you. So your first employer to your second employer, you say
chalk and cheese, mate.
You say, okay, look, I got to get out of here. I'm not learning anything.
Yeah.
And man, what's starting to seem very visible is you had an internal drive to succeed and learn, because you're not going to sit in a job not learning.
I don't think anyone wants to do that anyway.
Oh,
right?
look,
like,
you'll be surprised, to be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe, but I wasn't learning much.
But you chose to move on. You found another employer, and you're saying chalk and cheese, totally different,
100%.
different operator.
Yeah.
Did this guy actually nurture you?
And it was tough love at the start, to be honest with you, because I didn't come with a lot of skill, really.
Okay.
In the second year, where I should have been at a second year plumber, I probably wasn't at, to be 100% fair.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, be straight up with you, right? And I even look back at it now. So there's two types of plumbing, right? There's maintenance, right? And same day service, and that's very different to construction plumbing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The construction plumbing is what I've done throughout my entire apprenticeship, right? Mm-hmm. So the new builds, the renovations, that's basically what, you're building a new house from scratch, or duplexes, or, refurbishments or whatever. You generally go down that's the
construction.
More construction side.
Yep.
The maintenance is the leak detection, the same day service, the repairs, your general
more household sort of stuff.
Yeah, more household, more here's a plumbing problem, fix it.
Okay.
As opposed to here's a new build, install it.
Yep.
Very different. But what you find is, I love the fact, and I look back at it, I'm lucky that I've done the construction aspect I find for myself because I understand how things are built.
Because you need to know, you need to go through that to understand the foundation to be able to
100%.
provide a solution.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly
Okay.
right. And that's where I find there's a shortage in skilled maintenance plumbers.
Is it, do you think that not that they shortcut or skip a step, do you believe that it's hard to dive into maintenance straight away?
Yeah, because they don't understand.
The
I feel like
foundational.
you learn 30% of what you should at TAFE, really.
Oh,
The
wow,
stuff,
okay.
Yeah, half the stuff that you have at TAFE is irrelevant. Like a lot of courses I find, it might not be in plumbing related, but I hear this all the time. You go to uni, you study a degree, half the degree you study isn't. That's a lot what happened with plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
Parts of it you learn, and you learn the specs and the codes, and that's really, really cool. A lot of the industry about 5-6 years ago went down this very dangerous path of this whole trades recognition thing, which I absolutely hate.
Tell me, what do you mean by that?
I hate it so much, and it ruins the industry. The fact that I don't have to go to TAFE, right? I've done my experience on the field, but I can go now, pay someone $5,000, sit through a couple of courses, and at the end of it, they'll give you a plumbing license. And we had to, mate, honestly, during our time, so our licensing course, we were doing assignments. We had to go 2 days a week, assignments, 3D drawings, architectural drawings that you had to go through. The amount of work and the tests and the scrutiny and the stress that you get put under to try to get that license at the end of the day. And here you go, you can pay for your license. Doesn't sit well with me at all.
When you say it doesn't sit well, do you believe it dilutes the quality?
100%. And not only that, not from, it's for the consumer as well, right? So
Okay.
you now as a consumer, you legally have to have, if you're advertising online, you're doing work for someone, you legally need to be licensed and insured for you to come and do a job at your house, right? The things that I've seen some of these guys do who supposedly are licensed contractors, it's laughable, honestly. And they've come down a bit harder on it now, and I don't know too much about it now, but there were guys coming up and that I knew that were getting their licenses, and it's not right. It dilutes the industry. I think it ruins the industry. I feel like, as I was saying to you, the consumer then gets the end of the stick sort of thing, right?
Yeah,
so you're paying for a service for a licensed plumber who now goes into your house, does something. They haven't even studied the codes, and because they ran a couple of tests or whatever it is, and they passed them, they now think they're licensed contractors. They go into a house and they do more bad than good, and it's not right. I really don't like the fact, and I didn't think Australia, especially with the licensing and how we are, would allow something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know too much about it now. Like I said, I don't want to sort of talk about too much about how it is now. But back then, the things that was happening and how people were applying for the licenses, it's not right.
Well, that's a big topic on its own, to be honest with you. You raise a really, really good point, because I feel as though, because, look, I've been in the digital marketing game for such a long time. And I've seen, we deal with a lot of trades and services, and you can just see that the consumer, like you said, they're getting the short end of the stick, really, by the fact that the tradies are allowed to get their licenses quite easy. Yeah. But now the consumer is so skeptical, so scared to deal with certain trades. It really makes it harder on reputable businesses like you to go in and be trusted. So
we see it. We see it. Even after the things that have happened with, current affair and all those things, you go in the following days after that. Are you this company? Do you follow the same methodology as this company here? And then we feel like we need to explain ourselves, and we've lost
absolutely.
trust
Absolutely.
by doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And so, it is. It's disheartening, but I guess it comes with business, I guess. It's out of our control. I think you can only focus on yourself.
Well done.
And there's not much else that you can sort of take control of. Like it's literally out of our control. But it's just, like I said, you go to the customer's house and there's just that wall. You can see that wall being put up. And our guys feel it, right? And you get emails back and we're copying phone calls the days after saying, do you have an affiliation with XYZ company? And we need to explain ourselves, that we're not. So there's cowboys.
That's a big challenge that you probably have to face.
And like I said to you, indirectly, I feel like it has a negative effect on business because, you might have a great customer base or someone, wants to engage in your services and they think that you're related to XYZ company and then, they make an affiliation between you two when there's nothing there. And then, they're skeptical about calling and it could drag on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is. There's definitely things that happen out there that have an indirect role in the way that our businesses run at times.
What I have noticed in dealing with you over the last however many years, some of these challenges that pop up, being one of them, the current affair, the dodgy plumber, that whole stigma.
Yeah.
I know that has been a massive challenge, but what I love when dealing with you and how you deal with business is you look at it like an obstacle that you need to face and address and evolve.
Yeah.
You need to deal with the challenge.
100%.
If the consumers are starting to ask you 10 times more questions, you're going to have to answer these questions a little bit better. If you're looking for, trying to get trust into a customer, you put a guarantee, a service guarantee.
Yeah.
You always come up with a way to tackle these issues, which, to be honest with you, that's a breath of fresh air because when dealing with a lot of companies would, especially in the trades and services, they have a fixed way of doing something and they don't face these obstacles or they think that these obstacles will go away by themselves, but they don't.
Yeah.
These obstacles are a indication of the market changing. Do you know what I mean? And you have to evolve with it. And if you don't, you just get swallowed up.
I feel like social media now as well plays a massive role. Everything is digital these days. You know that, right? So what I would say is as well, I feel like you need to just do your homework and do your research on the company. And if there's something shady there, I think the majority of the time there's going to be something online now.
Okay, yeah, okay, good.
I find. And like I said, it's not nice being painted. And this not only goes for SPS. This goes for the 99.9% of businesses that are doing a great job. That that we shouldn't be all tarnished with the same brush and painted with the same brush. If a few rotten eggs do things wrong or they approach business unethically in the way they're approaching in their pricing or whatever it may be. I just feel like it's exaggerated a lot more, like I said, because it's posted online and you see these current affair stories and the issues that you're facing. It's hard enough running a business and then having to deal with those issues on top.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's like a compounding effect.
So your advice is basically, as a consumer, look into it a little bit further.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what it is.
Ask the questions, and I feel like your gut feel initially, if it doesn't sound right, it's generally not right.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? If someone comes to your house and presents you with a stupid quote, you generally are going to
just don't be ignorant and just roll with it.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Just do your homework and ask the right questions, and if you're comfortable, you're comfortable.
Mm-hmm. So you finish your apprenticeship. Do you continue to work with that second employer?
Yeah, so I stayed with him right up until I decided to go out on my own.
So let me go back. So you finish your apprenticeship. What was the feeling like? Was it a big feel? Like was it whoa? Like did you feel like you accomplished something, or
100%.
was it one of those things where okay, I've done that. Okay, what do I got to do?
Yeah, I think that when I got my license is probably when I knew that I wanted to. And look, don't forget, as I continued to go through the apprenticeship, I think the hunger started to drive there and started to build up a lot more as I went through that apprenticeship and sort of seeing other businesses flourish, I guess, in the building industry. And I just knew that I wanted to be my own boss.
Wow.
Yeah, I did 100%. And I was 22, 23 at the time. So,
but like, was it
23?
Okay. Was it? Did you think you can do things better? Did you want the freedom? Were you attracted to the money? Were you attracted to, like, what was it that said, I want to do it on my own?
I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to have the flexibility. The money thing really came. The money came after, and really, you talk about money in the business. The company really only started to really make money after, because I spent, honestly, if I look back at it, I would probably say 5. So I think we're in year 10, or we're going into our 11th year in business now. I would say probably, we still always invest back into the business, but at the start of it, it was making the money and then not taking any loans and just putting it back into the business, using the cash, right?
Wow.
And growing it organically. And I just feel like you were making money,
but like when
you were making a wage.
Yeah, but so the decision, I'm talking about, say for example, so you're sitting there, you finish your apprenticeship, you're still working with your second boss, and you're saying, look, I'm going to do it on my own. Was money a factor?
No, not at that time, not at all.
Was freedom?
100%.
Was
flexibility?
Okay, flexibility. When you say flexibility, you wanted the flexibility. Why?
I just want to do what I want to do when I wanted to do it, I guess.
Okay.
But I never. The funny thing is, right? I had this image of that's how it was going to be, and then you're working 60-hour weeks. Right?
You're working more.
What flexibility are you talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like at the start of it, there's this image of what you think business is going to be, and
no, tell me the image.
Yeah, you think it's going to be rosy? You think it's going to be easy? You think my boss has done it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be making a shitload of money.
Yeah.
I'm going to be making, and it's far out.
And I'll have workers, and the workers will do the work.
And I'll sit back in Cancun.
Yep.
With a drink in my hand, and the business will run itself.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was so far from it.